So what we're looking at here is the menu for the JVC NZ900 flagship 4K/8K upscaling projector. Let's quickly go through some of the options here. So under content type, we have a few different options. We've got auto, SDR, HDR10 Plus, HDR10, and HLG. Under picture mode, we got a few different options here as well. We've got cinema, film, filmmaker mode, vivid, user, user 2, and then user 3. And the vivid mode is one of the newer features for this year's NZ900 and NZ800. So if you're watching SDR material, this will boost up the saturation to give you a more punchier image. And under more settings is where you can tailor any one of these settings per picture preset. So right now under the natural mode, you can see that I have this at laser power at 25%. Dynamic control is on high, which you do have a few different options for. We've got off, low, high, and then balanced. In these 4 demos, I did overexpose these shots so you can see the laser dimming a bit better. In the off and low settings during each fade, these don't actually go totally black, while on the high and balanced settings, they will more often than not totally black out. The blacks are slightly brighter on the on and the low settings, while I find the bright setting does look truer black. The balance setting falls somewhere in between. The high setting can make the highlights a tiny bit dimmer than the others, and again, balanced is somewhere in the middle. I don't think there's a drastic difference between all of these settings, but I did find myself using the balanced option more often than not. We've got your aperture, so if you want to get the maximum light output, you're going to want to keep this at 0. Although if you want to stop this down, you can bring it down to enhance your black levels. However, I am using a 150-inch screen, so if you have a screen at 150 or larger, you're probably going to want to get the max light output, which would leave you at 0. Then we've got sliders for contrast, brightness, color, and then tint. Under color profile, we've got a few different options here as well. We've got auto, BT709, 2020, 2020 normal, DCI, video, anime, and then cinema. If you are a professional calibrator or you have calibration tools, we have the color management options here. And full disclosure, I am not a professional calibrator. I'm just an enthusiast, so I do not have the means to calibrate this myself. Under color temp, we've got from 5500K all the way down to a custom setting. So again, if you have the proper calibration tools, you can manage this yourself. Under gamma, we've got 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, cinema, cinema 2, and then we've got 3 different custom settings. And then we've got some sliders here for tone control, for picture tone, dark level, and then bright level. And then here is the section if you want to turn on or off the 8K shift. So this will shift the panel 4 ways to give you 8K resolution. So if you're watching 8K material, 8K native source material, this will automatically kick into 8K mode. Or if you have a really large screen and you just want to kind of tighten up the image just a little bit, you can also give this a slightly cleaner picture, less pixelized picture. Not that you can really see the pixels even at 4K, but if you just want to clean it up just a little bit, you're not going to add any additional detail that's not there, but this will just kind of make the image just a bit more tighter. This demo is from Armageddon on Blu-ray, which is in 1080p. There might be some folks that think the 8K upscaling is going to make these lower resolution sources look more detailed, but in reality there's a very small difference. Most of the time I think it's not even noticeable. At a few feet away, yes, I can see the picture is a little smoother, especially on 4K sources, but again, I think it's kind of negligible, which is a testament to how good the JVC is at rendering 4K material. Now, I didn't have any native 8K material to try out, but I'm sure that's where the biggest difference is going to be. Too bad, we're not going to have any 8K movies anytime soon to take advantage. And then under graphics mode, we got a few different options here. We've got standard, high res 1, and then high res 2. Under motion control, we've got clear motion drive. So if you want to get that smooth soap opera-ish effect, we've got low, high, and then we've got inverse telecine. And then for motion enhance, we've got low and high. This will make the pixels react a a little bit quicker, which is supposed to clean up the image. However, I have not noticed any kind of major differences using any of these settings. So if you have, then let me know in the comment section. Next section here, we've got the input level. We've got auto, video settings, PC, and then S white. I find it easier just to keep it on auto. For color space, this is on auto as well. However, you got 3 different settings here. This does support 3D. Unlike the other guys, Epson, Sony, JVC does still support the 3D format. So right now I'm playing Black Widow on a 4K Blu-ray, and if you decide to play that or either a format such as side-by-side, top and bottom, or if you want to take your 3D movie and convert it to 2D, you can do that as well. And then you can change the parallax setting and then the crosstalk cancellation settings. And this throws a fantastic looking 3D image. I do wish the projector maybe was a little bit brighter to get the most impact out of 3D. But if you have a smaller screen than mine, which is 150 inches, then I'm sure the image will be even that much more punchier. But as is on my 150 inch screen, this is a fantastic looking image. The 3D looks perfect. I see no crosstalk. I know part of that has to do with the source material, but for this movie at least, and also higher quality 3D sources like maybe Avatar 1, Avatar 2, it looks fantastic. No kind of issues with ghosting or anything like that. So this will throw a wonderful 3D image if you are still a 3D fan. Auto pick mode select, and you can set the default picture mode for each one of these picture settings here. So whatever's playing, if you're watching HLG, it'll kick in the HLG mode or HDR10. You can select whichever frame adapt mode or picture mode right from these settings here. We've got the HDMI EDID settings, and then for filmmaker mode, you can select either auto or manual. In this next section here, we've got the installation mode. We've got your lens control. You can operate focus, zoom, and then shift. So here is focus. By tapping up and down on the controller, you can focus the lens. The next one here is zoom. So by tapping up and down on the controller, you can zoom in or out the image. And this does give you some pretty good granular control. It's not the quickest zoom that I've used on a projector, although it is pretty effective once it gets going. And then we've got shift, so you can shift it 4 ways, up, down, left, or right. You can turn that image pattern with the cross sections on or off. You can lock your settings, and then you can reset the lens back to center. Under pixel adjust, we've got a few different options here. We've got the whole entire image, or you can do different zones. So let's go ahead, we'll pick zone, we'll adjust the blue color, keep the adjust pattern on, and then we will click on Fine Adjust. So from here, you should be able to see the little crosshairs in the center of the screen. By moving the control pad up and down, you can select whichever zone that you want. And then what you'll do is try to get all of these lines perfectly white. So if you're noticing a little bit of blue or red shift, then you'd come into this section here and just adjust the pixels till you get everything nice and perfect. Next section is your mask. We've got the anamorphic settings if you're using this with an anamorphic lens. We've got the screen settings, so if you want to automatically get the optimized output for the projector to your specific screen, you would go to the JVC website and they will give you a list of all the supported screens. So for my case, I am using a 150-inch Screen Innovations Maestro. So on that website, there is a 3-digit code. You would input that under the screen number section, which is for my case 62. You would put in your screen size. Under screen aspect ratio, we've got 16:9, 17:9, or CinemaScope. And then here you would input your screen gain. So mine is 1.1. For installation style, we've got front, ceiling mount rear, and then ceiling mount rear. And this does support keystone correction as well if you cannot get your projectors totally squared up with your screen. And then for aspect ratio, we've got zoom, auto, and then native. The next section here, we've got the back color, which is black or blue. Menu position. Right now I've got it located dead center, but you can see you've got About 7 different positions there you can choose from. For signal display, I've got this turned off, but if you turn this on, you'll be able to see in the upper right-hand corner a little pop-up every time you switch inputs, or if you're changing signal format from a different content, it'll show up in the upper right-hand corner. And then we've got the logo. Once this thing turns on, once the projector turns on, you'll see the JVC logo light up. And then we've got a few different language settings here. Next section here, we've got your trigger, off timer, eco mode, network, remote control, high altitude mode, hide mode, backup your settings, factory reset, and then software update, which is done via the USB. Now, if you are watching HDR content, you will get some HDR specific settings. The first option here is under the picture mode. We've got 3 different HDR frame adapt settings. We've got HDR adapt 1, 2, and then 3. From the looks of these shots, 1 has the best highlight detail, while 3 has the better shadow detail, and 2 falls in the middle. I personally prefer frame adapt 1, but I can see you switching this depending on whatever you're watching. This scene from Interstellar has a ton of white detail, especially in the clouds, which I think adapt 1 looks the best. 3 looks a bit better in this scene from Blade Runner 2049, especially in the shadows, which might be kinda hard to tell in the video, though they still all look really good, and each one does have their strengths. So you'll have to decide which setting works best for you. Under color profile, we have the BT 2020 normal or the BT 2020 wide. So if you want to add the color filter into the mix, that will decrease your light output by about 30% or so, which is pretty substantial as far as having a very bright picture, although on the positive side, you will get better, more accurate colors with better color saturation. But again, you will be giving up some light output, so if you have a really big screen, you might want to opt for keeping this on normal rather than keeping it on wide. Again, it's another one of those settings which is going to be a personal preference. And then under HDR settings, you can choose between 3 different options for your HDR processing. You can either keep the curve as static, go frame by frame, or scene by scene. For the rest of this video, I'm going to be using frame by frame. And then for the HDR quantizer, we've got auto, normal, wide, and then from a -2 up to a +2. The normal setting doesn't give you an overall bright picture like the wide setting does, but wide tends to blow out white detail, especially for these bright, colorful movies. Although the colors do look punchier on the wide setting. If you're watching a darker movie, then you might find wide could be the better way to go. Again, this is going to be one of those personal preference type of settings. And another new feature is the deep black setting, which will give you slightly better black levels without crushing any of the shadow detail. This looked great for the duration that I've had the projector, so I've always just kept it on. And of course, we have the horses from the Spears and Munsell disc. The lower knit demos look very close to one another, with a bit more detail in the snow and with the trees in the background on the 600 knit demo. The bottom 2 look just about identical, with the horses coming across lighter than the top 2 demos. There was still plenty of detail in all 4 shots, and unlike some projectors with inferior tone mapping, this isn't a total blowout and looked really good. Well, this is a big projector. It measures 19.6 inches in height, 9.2 inches in width, and 27.7 inches in depth, and it is heavy, weighing 55.7 pounds. It's got a 100mm all-glass lens, is a native 4K projector with 8K upscaling, supports HDR10, HDR10 Plus, and HLG. Around the back are 2 HDMI ins at 48 gigabits per second with resolution up to 8K 60, an RS-232, USB in for updates, LAN input, and a 12-volt trigger. The controls are located back here as well, and there is a 3D adapter input to watch 3D movies. Coming from the NZ900, this was a major improvement in brightness. The 700 was just too underpowered to light up my screen sufficiently, so the image was always kind of dim. For smaller screens, I'm sure it's totally fine. The NZ900, if you have the spare change for it, is easily the best 4K projector that I've used in my theater yet. Now, it did have the Epson QL7000 in here for a bit, and yes, that did blow the JVC away for sheer brightness, but its 4K upscaling always fell short of JVC's native 4K. But the Epson did leave me hoping for JVC to come a lot harder for lumen output for its next generation projectors. A 5000 lumen or higher NZ900 Mark II would be just about perfect. Having said that, this projector is razor sharp. 4K HDR content was vivid, with black levels looking as good as my mini LED TV. I didn't find that 8K upscaling made that much of a difference while watching movies and shows, but it is still a nice feature to have in the event that native 8K content ever becomes a reality. So it is ready for the future in that regard. I forgot to mention that the fan can get noticeably loud if you're maxing out brightness. If the projector is mounted inside your room, I'd build a hush box for it, or of course, if you drop the brightness to around half or less, then it is really quiet. So keep that in mind. If you want the best out there, the JVC is selling for $30,000 at the time of this video. If you want to grab one, there are links down in this video's description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.